Hi, this is David with entry number 562, I believe, 61, somewhere around there. Back on Yeonam-dong, a nice quiet street here, nice and shaded, nice wide walking lanes. Passing by a sushi joint right now, which is kind of cool. And I wanted to record this. It's currently about 10 before 2, 10 to 2, and wanted to record this because something just happened in my life that is a first. That was a legitimate first time, and I don't really know how to properly give this the gravity that it really deserves, because this is something that, to be honest, I don't know. I was really not expecting this to happen in my life, and I mean that in my life, not just ever, but I mean ever, but also I don't mean it lightly, I should say. This morning at 10 o'clock, I attended Mormon services, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And a couple things happened at the service that was unexpected. One, it wasn't weird at all. It was just kind of normal, to be honest. Like, if you've been to any kind of religious service in the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years, it was pretty much on par with what I think most people would expect of a religious service. It was actually relatively short. It consisted of a Sunday school and 2 sermons kind of thing, 2 lesson sermons. And the first unexpected thing that really struck me was the fact that there were a lot of foreigners there from China just visiting the temple, because this is the only temple in Korea that I'm going to now. And if you don't know, Mormons have like temples which are like really sacred, and they have like just like church rooms or whatever that are just kind of there, I guess, to have services in. And we don't get to go in the temple, but or services aren't in the temple, but we were just in the church, and there were a lot of these Chinese visitors there. Not Chinese ethnically, they were white, but there were teachers visiting from China, and they were just really nice. And they did something that was completely unexpected and took me aback really emotionally. And that was, they all wrote down their testimonies of Jesus. And I don't know if that's like something that you know of, but it is essentially kind of how they know Jesus is the one, the true one, God, or whatever you want to call it. And they were like 10 of them about, and they just wrote these huge, like really long letters to me during the service, because it was in Korean and they couldn't understand it, so I think they kind of had nothing better to do. But they wrote their testimonies down. They recorded them, and I'll be damned if that was more compassion. There was more compassion in that act than I had ever felt at any other religious event before, service or whatever in the Jewish faith I've attended before. This was the first time I actually felt like a real emotional urge. I've since kind of gone and read some of them, and it was, to be honest, they're a bit like I was expecting, but to pour yourself into a letter, especially like at the significance of these letters, it just took me aback. it utterly took me aback. And then the second thing I was not expecting was after just literally 15 minutes ago, I was standing on the intersection ready to cross. And I'm going to be real honest with you here. And I don't know if you can hear this, but I was standing there on the intersection, and I was just reflecting at my time at the services, and something hit me. And I don't know if you can hear it in the way I'm talking now, because it's kind of coming back, but something real hit me, and I don't know what it was, and I don't know if I could call it anything. But all of a sudden, I just felt, and this is just kind of their nomenclature that we've been using, but I felt just a swelling in my chest, and it was a really good, warm feeling that I'd never felt before in my life. And I just started breathing, and with every breath, the feeling was multiplied, and it just became bigger and bigger and bigger until the point where, this is literally within the span of 60 seconds, I was standing there, and I felt it in my face, and I felt it in my eyes, and I began to have like a real emotional experience. Now, could I pinpoint exactly why this happened? I could speculate at this point, yeah, sure. But it just was, it was the most amazing thing I think one of the most amazing things I've ever felt in my life. I can't really do it justice because you can't, but because it's so personal. But it was literally, I could feel something. I could feel something physical, and I don't know how to describe it, but that feeling I'll never forget. I'll never forget that, and I'm just really thankful to the missionaries that I've been meeting, and it was just the most it sounds kind of silly, but it was the most personal thing I think that's ever happened to me. And it's just, that's really all I can say, is that it was like getting touched by God. And I know that kind of sounds silly, but that's what it felt like to me. And it was just this huge feeling of happiness and oneness. It's a feeling of oneness and completion. And I know that might scare some people hearing, but it was really one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And say what you will about